Now, hundreds of pages into her novel, Silver Skies, Gail lost interest in writing it in late 1996. She'd written it to make love to Brent through her writings, to make it up to him that Jesus would not allow her to make love to him. Well, he had a girlfriend the whole time, and she thought he was pining with love for her. He no longer deserved her masterpiece. So she shoved it into the closet, and though she told herself to keep writing it, she lost interest in it, and the masterpiece lay in her closet, gathering dust. Jesuits changed their strategy. 6 months after Gail found out about Loree, in December 1996, at Franco's London home, the drug rapist made an attempt on Franco Nero. In the London December 1996 photos, Loree in black, with a V-neck to her belly button and no bra, looked dressed to kill, her eyes cold and daring, obviously anticipated with relish her encounter with Franco Nero. She wanted to rape him the same way she did Brent. She was going to repeat the same thing all over with Franco and latch onto him instead. So she escaped from Brent in London while she toured with Brent in Paramount Studios in December 1996 to promote the new Star Trek movie First Contact. Loree went to visit Franco with her brain-control drugs, which she slipped into his drink. Franco found her in his London home when he got home one night, and she was sprawled out on his couch wearing lingerie. She was drinking a wine glass with some black wine in it, and when she went to sip it, it turned silver on her lips. He freaked out and threw her out of his house. Then, very panicked and stumbling over his words, called Brent. Brent thought, he might have only told me the short version. She may have touched his penis at some point. She loves her penis. She's obsessed with men that have big ones. When Brent confronted Loree about this, her eyes glared in defiance. He tried to rape me. He couldn't resist me. Paramount expected Brent to make some public appearances with his girlfriend, Loree, in case Gail's husband gave them bad press about Brent, Loree, and Gail. Photographs of Brent on a Paramount Studios Christmas tour in Europe to promote his new movie showed him with the drug rapist by his side right after Franco reported her attempted rape. Brent's December 1996 photos taken in Germany while he toured to promote Star Trek First Contact in Europe showed him staring at Loree with disgust and depression. But though he knew she raped other men besides him, he kept her as his girlfriend because he wanted to make sure to keep the drug rapist away from Gail. In the Germany 1996 photos, Brent's nose almost touched the drug rapist's cheeks, while his eyes gloomed over her with disgust and depression. With her eyes glaring straight ahead with hate and fire. How dare that Franco say that about me? He just couldn't resist me and tried to rape me, and knew I'd expose him. That's why he says I tried to drug rape him. It confused Gail that Brent would not dump Loree as his girlfriend, because the Germany 1996 photos made it obvious that Brent knew his girlfriend tried to seduce Franco, and that Loree pretended to be the irresistible seductress that Franco Nero could not resist. Brent heard Gail's reaction through the wiretap he had on her phone. You're a coward. When Gail viewed Loree McBride's defiant stare, while Brent's eyes gloomed over her with depression, she guessed the truth that Loree tried to seduce Franco. At this point, she began to realize that Loree could possibly be a criminal. She had no doubt that Loree was wicked and shallow. The woman had to know about her because Brent spent hours and hours listening to her from her wiretapped phone, and yet she remained Brent's girlfriend. Gail concluded that Brent got suckered into having her as his girlfriend to keep his job at Paramount. Why does Brent tolerate such an inferior and wicked woman as his girlfriend? Gail wondered. I am so superior to her in character and as a woman. I just don't understand. Why, Brent feels he has to tolerate her companionship all the time, and even worse, why he degrades himself by appearing with this slut in public. Loree's good looks did not faze Gail. She sensed that Loree gloated in her looks as if that was all a woman needed to get a man. What a wicked fool that woman is! Gail had no doubt that Brent did not want Loree. She concluded that perhaps he was a bit too materialistic for her, because Gail concluded that Loree must have been assigned to Brent by Paramount. I don't want a man who will allow such an inferior and wicked woman to be his companion day in and day out. She's immature, shallow, and self-centered, and vastly inferior to me. She thinks her youth and looks will win her Brent, and I know he's deeper than this. Apparently Brent is a coward, and not as manly and heroic as I originally thought. At this point, Gail lost so much respect for Brent because he tarnished his manliness by associating himself with such a shallow and vulgar whore that she lost all romantic interest in him and stopped dreaming about making love to him. He had become a wimp to her, and Gail never found a wimp attractive. "What's the matter with you? I know you don't love Loree. You must be a coward. I cannot dream about making love to a coward. I'm the woman who sustains you and makes you happy, and yet you hang around with this showgirl who even tried to rape my Franco, and even after this, you still keep her as your girlfriend? What a coward!" So while I have kept secret my love for you, this woman, who is obviously enamored with your celebrity status, jumps at every chance to appear with you in public. What a shallow farce of a woman she is! Gail had no respect for a man who was more worried about public opinion than in authenticity and genuineness in relationships. What had happened to her deep and manly Brent, the man who sang to her with such depth and breadth in Old Yellow Eyes' back? Oh, what a disappointment Brent turned out to be! But, Gail reasoned, even though Brent is no longer my hero, he's superior to my husband and deserves my friendship. I won't kick him off my phone's wiretap, and I won't let my husband know that Brent is on the wiretap. Gail was confused. So much of this made no sense, and though she racked her brains trying to figure out the real reason Brent had Loree as a girlfriend, she remained confused. Brent must be a coward, she thought. And since Franco seemed like a man who would never stoop so low as to have a woman like Loree for a companion, Gail transferred her affections to Franco, who seemed more manly than Brent. She adored Franco's manly performance as Lancelot in Camelot. No, Franco would never stoop so low as to have such a shallow woman like Loree for a companion. Franco once had the brilliant Vanessa Redgrave, and Gail was so proud of him for this, and told him so often, "I know you would never be like Brent and stoop so low to have such a shallow and flaky woman like Loree McBride. You have my heart. You are manly." Because the Franco-Nero rape plot failed, Jesuits removed the December 1996 London and Germany photos of Loree from the internet. Yes, Gail smiled to herself, I'm so proud of Franco. I knew Loree couldn't get him like she has Brent. Gail didn't know that Brent never attended the June 26, 1996 birthday party for Loree McBride, and that Loree, not his mother, wrote the damning article. Of course, Loree neglected to mention in the article that she stole Brent's credit cards to stage her own lavish birthday party at Spago's. Lying, she claimed Brent hosted the party for her. The world also didn't know that Brent wasn't there because he wasn't invited. He so longed to call Gail and explain everything to her then. But Loree threatened to kill Gail every day at that time. Brent had no doubts the drug rapist would carry out the murder. She had almost murdered him many times. He waved to his drug rapist the white flag of surrender. After Franco Nero replaced Brent as the man of Gail's dreams, Brent let the drug rapist live in his house, She always broke into his house anyways. New locks, new keys, nothing worked. To stay alive for Gail, he wore bulletproof vests, football helmets, penis protectors. He felt it far better to know Loree's location in his house than to have her lurk in the streets near Gail. Therefore, he allowed Loree free rein in his house from 1996 to 1999. Loree, free inside his house, decided to quit chain smoking from her mouth, a means to fill the air he breathed with brain control drugs and nicotine. She stated with triumph, "Chain smoking's not hardcore enough for a true Jesuit." Her laughter cackled to the walls. Soon she shoved entire packs between her legs, and smoke billowed from her vagina. Loree stole cigarettes from him, overwhelming him with nicotine withdrawal symptoms, then stuffed cigarettes into her vagina, smashing his face into her smoke-filled orifice. Laughing, with legs apart, she flaunted cigarettes from her clitoris. Like an automaton, he sucked in fluids from her nicotine-laden cesspool, his cravings satisfied. Brain control horror. The smoke he smelled from her vagina was laced with brain control drugs that overwhelmed Brent, giving him nicotine cravings. Loree would steal his cigarettes and wait for him to suffer the horrible withdrawal symptoms. Then he felt helpless as she grabbed his head and shoved his face into her orifice, smothering his nose with her vaginal fluids. In a trance, his mouth sucked her fluids, tasted the nicotine, felt gratified. To his horror, she had lulled him into nicotine heaven. When her brain control over him wore off, he dry-heaved with guilt and tears. Loree laughed, and jumped around his room. "Ha! You just can't stop making love to me, can you?" Over the years, Jesuit press created photos of Brent with Loree for functions he never attended with her. They made Brent appear happy with the drug rapist, brushing over Loree's obsessive and crude self with a carefree and happy expression. What could he do? Jesuits practically owned the press. If not for Gail's vastness, he knew he would have gone mad. Despite everything, he always worshipped the ground Gail walked on. But each new day with Loree made him feel so filthy and dirty. He felt more unworthy of his awesome Gail. Even if Gail wouldn't take him after Loree polluted him, he felt it his fault that Gail had feelings for him. He had introduced the romance between them in 1991. He'd made love to her on the phone, and though only she and him and his close friends knew of it, he had a conscience. To shush the guilt so he could sleep at night, he had to protect her, even if it meant living with a murderer. If he ousted Loree from his house, he knew she'd head straight for Gail. Far better him than Gail. It seemed Loree never tired, never gave up, though she admitted her Catholic religion and Jesuit loyalties. He at first just thought her a horrible Catholic who belonged to some cult offshoot of the Catholic faith, and that it was mainly her and Paramount that worked together to oppose his Gail. But when he read Jack Chick's Smokescreens in 1996, he began to realize that Loree was part of the larger Jesuit and Roman Catholic conspiracy. However, he still wondered if the Jesuit order was, in fact, part of the mainstream Catholic Church. It was hard to imagine that the Catholic Church could have survived if it was truly guilty of the Nazi Holocaust and concentration camps. Yes, Loree was a Jesuit, but did the Vatican itself sponsor the Jesuit order that Loree belonged to? Or did Loree belong to a strange, illegitimate version of the Jesuit order, divorced from the main Jesuit order? Was the Pope himself attacking Brent and Gail? Brent struggled with questions about the Roman Catholic Church and its involvement with him and Gail, but had no doubts that Loree and the Jesuit order she belonged to were monstrous and very powerful.